Have you heard? Marana has unforgettable festivals and events. From parades to fireworks, rodeo competitions to light shows, we'll show you a good time. Learn more about the Marana Signature Event Series by visiting maranaaz.gov/events.
Property crimes are often the result of opportunity. You can take action to help reduce crime by starting a Neighborhood Watch program. Neighborhood Watch serves as a guide for more eyes and ears in your neighborhood. Contact the Marana Police Department Community Resource Unit at 520-382-2055 for more information.
Welcome to Real Talk with the Town, where I sit down with Marana staff to answer your burning questions about our beautiful community. My name is Terry Rozema, and I'm the town manager for the town, so let's get started. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Real Talk with the Town. My name is Terry, and I am your host. And today we have in the studio Jill McCleary, our town cultural heritage specialist, historian extraordinaire. And we're going to talk about an awesome topic about how Marana got its name, right? 100 years in the making. Well, maybe not 100 years in the making, but 100 years ago.
Yes.
And but before we do that, welcome, Jill.
Thank you, Terry. It's always wonderful to be here with you.
Yeah. So cutting right into this, our icebreaker for today. I know we're at the end of January, but still in January, beginning of the year. Any New Year's resolutions, Jill?
I have a few, and one of them actually involves you, Terry. Can we share it with the audience?
Oh, okay. All right. Sure. Go ahead.
So Terry and I both like sweets.
Yes, too much.
It is not a secret that if somebody puts something in the break room, Terry and I usually are the ones to eat it if it's a sweet. And we are
chocolate cake, brownies, chocolate chip cookies, it's gone. And I always know if there's like one chocolate chip cookie left and I go back there to get it and it's gone, I know that Jill is eating it.
All right, yeah, it's true. I can't deny it. It's the truth. So you and I, we're going to try to go sugar-free for 30 days.
Sans sugar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Starting in February, so we're a little late on our New Year's resolution.
Yep. But I had a trip planned, and I didn't want to do it while I was on my trip. So, so we're going to do it. I feel a high degree of confidence that we'll be able to go 30 days, no sugary products, right?
We've got this, but we will ask our listeners to, send good thoughts our way.
Yes.
We might need it sometimes.
Yes. Check in on us in the end of February. All right. So we are talking here today about how Marana got its name, and we're fast approaching here the 100-year celebration of Marana's name. And talk a little bit about that. What was it formerly called, and how did it go? What was the transition? How did it end up changing?
That is a great question. Yeah. So the reason we're doing this podcast is on February 1st, 1925, 100 years ago, the post office changed its name from Postvale to Marana. And it was the first time we've kept the same name in 100 years. We've actually had a lot of different names, not just Postvale and Marana.
Oh, do tell.
Yeah. If you would have come here during the stagecoach days, let's say 1860s, 1870s, and you tried to find Marana on the map, you wouldn't find it. But what you would find is a place called Pointer Mountain, or sometimes called Point of Mountains. And that was the best known stagecoach stop here. And so that's where you'd ask to go. You'd ask to go to Point of Mountains, which is about where El Rio is today. The northern tip of the Tucson Mountains is where you'd end up. Okay,
so along Coach Line in that area.
Yeah.
Hence the stagecoach.
You got it. Stagecoach, Coach Line. That's where the name comes from.
Very good. Very good.
Yes.
Yeah, I was a detective once. I picked right up on that. Okay, so tell me more.
And then it changed again. The railroad came through. Southern Pacific was the railroad that came through in 1880. And if you look at what the railroad station name was, it was usually Sandair. So Sandair, Sandair, was the name of our stop. So if you wanted to come to this area, that's what you would probably say, is that you're trying to get to Sandair.
And let me guess. We have a road here, north-south road, called Sandario.
We do.
Yes. Did it come from the from the train and Sandair?
This is one of the many controversial things we'll talk about today.
Oh, good.
I think the answer is yes. I do think that is the origin of San Dario Road.
Other people say, however,
that it's after Saint Dario, after a saint. So I do not have the actual answer to that. But it makes sense to me when I see that stop on our map that's where the name would come from.
Totally makes sense to me.
Yep.
And Saint what?
Dario.
Saint Dario.
Yeah. It is a saint who exists.
It really is. Okay, well,
Yeah.
I guess there could be, I guess it's going to be whatever you prefer in
True.
terms of what you believe, maybe.
Yes. One of the many mysteries we'll talk about today.
All right, good.
Yeah. Just another quick name. If you would look at a map in the 1890s, you would have seen Wakefield because the Wakefield family owned a huge ranch out here. So it really wasn't until about 1907 that the name Marana starts getting used. And talk about controversy. The town
I know where you're going here, man, because I've heard the stories about how we got our name, and I don't. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, we'll get into it.
Please tell me.
The town is my employer, and the town for a long time has been saying that the name Marana shows up in 1890 on a railroad map. Well, Terry, I have spent the last year trying to find this map. I don't think it exists.
Wow. Okay.
Yes. So I think we've maybe been telling a fib. Unless there's a sleuth out there listening who can help me find this map.
That would be interesting.
Yes, please help me.
Yeah.
But I have looked at historic maps, newspapers, documents, archives. I cannot find the name Marana before 1907. And that's a big deal because we have also been saying officially that the origin of our name came from railroad workers. When they came through, they named the town. And as I said earlier...
But we know that they named it Sand Air.
True.
Yeah.
That's true. We know that they were calling it Sand Air. But the railroad came in 1880. And we've been saying that the railroad workers came in and there was so much brush, so much vegetation that they named Marana from the Spanish word for thicket. So that would be Marana. Not spelled exactly the same, but almost. And the problem with that story...
What's the difference in the spelling? Has a tilde above the N?
Exactly,
Okay.
Yes. Otherwise, exactly the same.
Yeah.
So
I like the way that sounds, though. Marana.
It does kind of sound nice, doesn't it? Should we just start calling it that for the rest of this?
I think people might get mad.
Yeah, they might.
Yeah.
So we have stuck to that story. And the problem, obviously, is if the railroad workers called it that when they were building the railroad in 1880, why did it take 27 years later for that name to show up on anything?
Yeah.
So that made me a little hesitant about this being the origin of our name. But the thing that most likely proves it's true is actually the name Cortero. Because Cortero likely came from the Spanish word cortar, which is to cut. And
Say the word again.
Cortar. So Cortar. Apologies to all of our Spanish-speaking listeners. I am not a Spanish speaker.
You're taking Spanish lessons, though, from our very own Andrea de la Cruz.
I am. I'm currently getting Spanish lessons, but I'm only about 30 days in, so please excuse me, all the listeners.
We don't expect much then.
But Cortero actually shows up by 1899. So it would make sense that maybe they were naming both those areas after the thick vegetation here. So if it's not from thicket, what is it from? If you go back to the earliest settlers here, especially the Anway family, there's a road named here after the Anway family. They came about 1919. All of their early oral histories all say it comes from pig. And so that would also be coming from a Spanish word, but we'd be having two R's in Marana. So it'd be Marana with a rolled R in the middle. Now, this is definitely something that was commonly believed by early settlers in Marana, so much so that the postmistress in 1933, who ran the Marana post office, when she was asked where the name came from, she said it was from pig.
Pig? Because we were pig farmers? What's the...
Well, the Anway family tells the story that, again, goes back to the railroad. Their story is often that there was a railroad accident just here in this area, And on that train was a bunch of pigs. And they all got loose in this area. And so when people came and moved here, there was a bunch of wild pigs around. So it's possible.
Well, there's still a bunch of wild pigs around. They're called javelinas.
That's true. That is true.
We see them out here all the time. They scare Vic when she walks out to her car.
They do like to hang around this complex.
Yeah,
for sure.
they do.
Yeah.
All right. So wild pigs, did they evolve into javelina maybe? No, I'm just kidding. They didn't really. Okay, so wild pigs that came from a derailed train car, and they didn't catch them, so they roamed around Marana and populated the area with pigs, and so we began calling it Marana.
Which is actually female pig, a sow. So, neither of these theories fully work out. And so the reality is as of today, those are probably the two most likely ways that we got the name Marana. But it could even be a third option that we don't even know about. We know there were immigrants who came here from Italy who had the last name Marana. I don't have any proof of them settling in this area, but they did spell it the same way. It could be something we have no idea.
Italian settlers with the last name of Marana?
Yeah.
Really?
You can find them in the immigration records that we had people with that last name moving.
Very interesting.
To the United States. So it was also a name of a character that was in a popular book in the 1800s. So someone could have liked the name in the book. It's hard for me to say. I'm not actually able to say today exactly where a name came from.
So we have no conclusive evidence that we can say this is where Marana got its name.
Not yet. But
Okay.
I love to do research. I'm going to
Yes.
keep looking into this. And hopefully if somebody's listening to this and they have more information for me.
This is like Nicolas Cage in National Treasure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, come help us find out the treasures in our history here so that we can tell the true reason that we became
So the
Marana.
post office, you said at the beginning that the post office is the one that officially changed the name from Post Vale to Marana. So how did it even start being called Post Vale? Was that related to the post office or a family or what's the situation there?
That is an excellent question. So it's named from a Post family. And as Terry, you know very well, we just swore in a new mayor whose last name is Post, John Post. This is a different Post family. It just happens to be a coincidence that two Post families had such an impact on our town because our mayor's history is also a very important part of Marana's story. But this Post Vale was named after a man named Edwin Post, who came to this area about 1918. He was born in the Midwest in Iowa, had a farm background, but he, from everything I've read about him, was incredibly charismatic, entrepreneurial, and a big dreamer. On top of that, he was
Sounds like our mayor.
true. See, if Post family, it's
Entrepreneur, dreamer,
Yeah.
charismatic. I mean, that's our mayor.
that's our mayor. Yes, well,
No relation though, is there?
no relation.
Wow, that's crazy.
What a coincidence, right? Well, Edwin Post came to this area, and he could see what Marana could become. At that time, this would have been 1918, it would have been mostly just ranches out here. There was farming, but not very much. And Edwin Post saw this area, and he thought, I can turn this into a major farming hub. I can turn this into a farming town. And that's exactly what he started to do. He started to build an irrigation district. He bought all the land between...
Okay, wait a minute. Wait a minute, Joe. So Edwin Post, the farmer, and is involved with the irrigation canals and building all of that here?
Yes.
Okay,
yeah.
the similarities are a little bit eerie here.
That's true.
I mean, John Post, a farmer, part of the Cortero Marana Irrigation District. This is getting a little bit eerie. I'm not gonna lie. So I hope the similarities don't continue because then it's going to be like a reincarnation situation here.
Yeah, they're not exactly the same, but they say history repeats itself, right?
Well, there you go.
So
Okay.
there it is happening. But yeah, Edwin Post came, he starts buying land all the way up to what's today the Pinal County line to just south of Cortero. So really the area that is Marana today. He purchases that land, he puts it into parcels, and he starts selling it. And he may have been from a farming background, but he was a marketer beyond what we could even imagine for that time period. He started putting newspaper articles out across the country. He created brochures. And on top of that, all the records show that he was also just this really good-looking guy who could sell anything. Even his son said he was good-looking in more than just a movie star way. And so he sold over $2 million worth of land in what is now Marana to farmers from around the country in about 1919, 1920. And that's why they started calling this area Postvale after Edwin Post.
Wow. That is a ton of land that he bought and sold. I mean, from Cortero, that's literally, a vast majority of what Marana is today. From Cortero all the way up to the Pen. It's larger than that now, but still, that is an enormous amount of land.
Yes.
So he was a popular guy, a guy that was crowned king of Marana. What was the, he wasn't the mayor, obviously.
No, but he definitely could be seen as sort of our founder. Mm-hmm. But, this is where we hope things are not the same as our current mayor and trajectory. Things did not end up going well for Edwin Post.
Uh-oh.
He came in 1918, which was just the end of World War I. And during World War I, cotton was booming. The economy was growing because we were in war. And after the war ended, 1919, 1920, the economy started to tank. Mm. In fact, I've read that business failures tripled during those years after the war. So everything started to fall apart. His sales started to fall apart. People couldn't come through on the loans. And before long, Edwin Post wasn't even in town anymore. He basically had gone on to the next thing because it was all falling apart here. He never got to see that his vision was right, because we now know that, of course, everything worked out. But at the time, it looked like it had actually been a failure for him.
Wow. Do we know where he went or what became of him?
Yeah, he went on to do other farming communities around the West. So in California and Washington, there's a number of places that he actually did similar things in. But Marana may be his best story as far as the actual success of what he started. He just never got to see the end of it.
Yeah, well, that's incredible. Think about it. He saw the vision for a farming community. It fell apart. He leaves. And it ends up becoming a farming community anyway.
It does,
right?
yeah.
It becomes this massive landmass with tons of farms and tons of farming going on for decades and decades. And now a lot of that farming is turning into housing and growing into something much different. But fascinating story about Mr. Edwin Post and his story and how we got named Postvale.
Yeah, so from about 1920 to 1924, if you look at newspapers, you would have been seeing it being called Postvale. And it was actually the local women's club. We had a Marana Women's Club who decided to change the name back to Marana. They were the ones who petitioned the government and petitioned the post office to change the name. So we owe a Marana Women's Club thanks for our name.
So do we know why the women wanted it changed?
No, I have tried to find those records as well.
Okay.
We can safely say that because Edwin Post had left town and wasn't here anymore, that I think that the ladies wanted to make sure that we went back to the name we had been going by, which was Marana.
Okay. So it was Marana, went to Postvale, and then back to Marana.
Exactly.
But before Marana, it was Sand Air, and what was the other one? What was the first
Wakefield and
Wakefield.
Point of Mountain.
Point of Mountain.
Yeah. We also were called Desert for a little while.
Just Desert.
Just Desert.
Just Desert.
Yeah. Pretty original, right?
Take a trip to desert, in the desert. All right. Well, fascinating stories. What other tidbits of information do we have to share with our listeners about this 100-year name of Marana, celebrating that? So we've had the name for 100 years, but we haven't been around for 100 years as a town. So
you've got it.
What's the deal?
Yeah, so we will have another big anniversary coming up, talking about us finally incorporating in 1977. Mm-hmm. We will be having our 50th anniversary in 2027. So it's a little confusing.
That's a big deal.
Yeah, that we've been around for a lot longer, but we've only officially been a town for coming up on 50 years. And that will be happening soon, and the town's going to be doing some big celebrations.
Any idea what those celebrations are yet?
I think I'm going to leave some of that as a surprise.
To be determined.
Yeah, we're going to do things, some of the stuff that we normally do with our Founders Day parade, but we're going to do them bigger and better.
Nice. Sounds fantastic. Well, anything else, Jill, that you'd like to share with our listeners? Anything else that we can talk about that would be of interest? This has been a fascinating conversation and a conveyance of information, not only to me, but to all the folks that are listening. So anything else you want to share with us today or save some for the next time?
I think that's it for today.
Okay.
I think if it's okay, we'll try to put some photos of Edwin Post out on our social media or on our website. So if you would like to see who this man was that really got Marana going, we'll make sure we have some more information.
Strikingly handsome man.
Yeah, that's what they say. I'm quoting other records. I don't usually say that about historic figures.
Okay. So, but you've seen the pictures. I mean.
Okay, yeah, he's good looking.
He's a good looking guy.
Don't tell my husband I said that, but
yeah.
For being a guy from 100
your
years
secret
ago.
is safe with me and all the other people who are listening right now.
All right, sounds good.
Okay. Well, thanks, Jill, so much for joining us, for sharing all this wonderful information about our town. It is fascinating to know our roots and to understand where we've come from and just how much we've grown in the last 100 years. And we look forward to hearing a little bit more about what we're going to do for this 50-year celebration in about 2 years.
Yeah.
So,
thank you so much for having me, Terry.
Outstanding. Well, everybody, thank you for listening. Thank you for sending in questions. Continue to do that. It helps us keep this podcast going and to answer all the questions that are on your hearts and minds. So appreciate that. Until next time. Submit your questions by visiting maranaaz.gov/realtalk, and we'll answer them right here. To receive notifications for new releases, remember to hit subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Also, remember to follow the town on Facebook, X, formerly known as Twitter, and Instagram to stay up to date on current news and events.